I'm Cowboy Kartridge. Welcome to Whip. What have I played? And I'm going to review some games for you folks. I'm here in the Bargain Pirate's new gaming room. This is pretty much the older gaming room, but it's been changed to another room of his place. So I'm here with a bunch of video games and stuff, and the Bargain Pirate's going to give you a tour of his gaming room in a future video. But for now, let's review some games. First up is Speed Brawl for the PS4. This is a fun little Brawl-type character-driven game, where instead of multiplayer bouts, you actually go through levels fighting enemies and unlocking more characters, attacks, and gear as you go along. The steampunk aesthetic has some charm, the music is pretty cool, and the character designs are nifty, but everything feels a little bit on the generic side, and the fighting can get a little repetitive. There is fun to be had here, sure, I'm not saying this game is devoid of all fun, but I found it to be a little stiff and lackluster when it came to gameplay and attitude. Give it a whirl if this looks fun for you. There's a bunch of characters to unlock, and the story's kind of nice. I give this one 7 out of 10. I also played Townsmen. This is on the Switch. I was really down to play a real-time strategy game on the Switch, and while this game has many elements of that in play, it ultimately feels more like a mobile game effort, which, while not bad at all, still leaves me rather hungry in a console experience. Buy houses and stuff, upgrade them, go to war. It's very simple, but it's all there. So if you're in the mood for a light RTS experience, give this one a try. 7 out of 10. I also played Spintires MudRunner. This is the PS4 version. I'm always eager to try simulation games, but always find myself struggling to learn the ropes, as a lot of these more realistic games are always very obtuse to learn, tutorials not being very friendly. This game is no exception, and while the actual mechanics of getting chopped up trees to logging camps in inclement Russian weather are not the most simple to figure out with a, in my opinion, limited tutorial, one thing we can all agree on is that this is simply the best mud physics ever seen in the game by far. This game wasn't my cup of tea, but for what it is and what it does, it's very well made, especially for an indie title. 7.5 out of 10. There was also This War of Mine, the complete edition for the Switch. When the world falls apart and resources become rare, a randomly selected assortment of characters need to hide in an abandoned house and go out at night to raid nearby houses and businesses, get resources, upgrade their gear and living conditions, and protect their own house from raider attacks, with life becoming harder and harder as the game goes along. I left the tone of this back when I played it on PS4, and I'm glad to see this on the Switch, pretty much intact in terms of presentation and gameplay. This is also the complete edition, so all the added stuff from the expansions is present. You need to try this game at least once in your life, as it is truly an experience. 8.5 out of 10. And lastly, I played Vampyr for the PS4. A third-person action semi-open world game where your character is a vampire and has to deal with other vampires, hunters, monsters, and other assorted spooky stuff? Count me in. This game was made by the same team that made Life is Strange, but could not be more different. An interesting mechanic brought to the table is the fact that your character, Dr. Reed, is a medical doctor and has to keep people in each area healthy in order to either feed on them with more XP, or at least prevent the areas from turning into monster-infested slums should all these characters die, which is a really fun concept, but ends up being a little like the mercenaries in Amazing Spider-Man 2, making the game feel padded unnecessarily with figuratively spinning plates, which slows down the main story progression. The Victorian tone is really well executed, the characters all act like you would expect them to, and the atmosphere is pitch perfect. Exploring and unlocking new zones is fun, and while the dungeons are a little on the uncreative side, the London overworld is fun to explore. The combat fares less well, however, being a bit on the repetitive side, and the crafting system is decent, but takes a lot of items to craft things you need repeatedly, instigating a lot of needless farming. The dialogues and characters are all interesting, with some of the choices you have to make more varied than just good or evil choices. If you're into well-crafted and atmospheric moodiness, with a light touch of horror, and some interesting concepts, but are able to excuse some flaws in design and pacing here and there, then you'll be happy to sink your teeth into Vampyr. I give this game 8 out of 10. Whew, and that was it. 5 very different games. Please leave a like and subscribe, it's always very much appreciated, and I'll see you next time on a brand new episode of Whip. What have I played? This is Cowboy Kartridge, signing off.